Zerber, burr, zar, garbar, gar, sharbar.
Welcome to AT Banter, the podcast where we discuss anything and everything regarding the world of assistive technology. With our hosts, Steve Barkley, Rob Minot, and Ryan Fleury. Now, let's banter.
Hey!
Hey, did you hit record?
Very funny. And welcome to yet another episode of AT Banter.
Banter.
Coming at you from a secret, undisclosed location.
Our new comfy underground lair.
That's right. Yeah, that's one way to look at it.
Although I forgot to give Rob the longer mic cable because you wanted to sit on the couch today.
I did. I'm a little disappointed. I can kind of, but that's fine.
Oh, well.
I don't want to look unprofessional while you guys look all professional here at the table. Hey, so I am Rob Minot, and with me today is Steve Barkley.
Good afternoon.
He's back.
He is back. And Ryan Fleury, of course.
Hello.
See, this screwed me up because we're sitting in the wrong order. Because generally I do the intros and it's Ryan and then Steve, but
That's
now
true. We're mixing it up.
I'm all discombobulated.
So, Ryan, I see you've got a no shoes, no shirt, no problem sign up on the wall here.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. Does that go for podcasts too? Can I take my shirt off?
Absolutely.
All right. Naked podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm running out of wall space for pictures. I got more pictures I want to put up.
Yeah, we're going to have to work on this.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be the new studio. Well, so, how have you guys been this week?
I've been good.
Oh, well, just sort of carrying on.
Yeah. Well, I'm finally feeling human again. That virus that's going around, it was pretty brutal. That really knocked me out for a week.
Yep, it was nasty. And has it come back on you yet? Because
No.
It's
no, is that supposed to?
God, I hope it came back on me 3 times.
Oh, I really hope not, because I got everything. Like it was the weirdest thing. I got fever, and then I got a head cold, and then I got the stomach flu, and then I went back to fever. It was the most bonkers virus I've ever had.
And it's all over Vancouver. It's just crazy. Actually, it was in Toronto too, because I know a lot of our staff out there had it too.
I'm telling you, it's the age of superbugs. We need to stop using antibacterial hand
soaps and
Yeah, it's time to get back out in the garden and eat dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
willingly.
On purpose, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want people to force me to eat dirt.
Like we did when we were kids.
Yeah, we don't
Absolutely.
advocate that here at the podcast.
No bullying.
Okay. Darn it. You're just upset about the last time, aren't you?
That's right. Scarred.
Well, hey, so listen, what are we doing today, you may be asking?
And they may. We wouldn't know because we're recording and they're out there listening after the fact. But, you could say that.
You could. Today, as you can probably tell, we don't have a guest. We're just doing another one of our guerrilla-style podcasts. And what we thought we would do today is talk a little bit about CSUN and some of the things that were featured at CSUN. Now, for people who don't really know what CSUN is an annual... I don't know, what would you call it?
Yeah, it's an annual assistive technology conference. It's California State University Northridge puts it on. It is, I think, by far and away the biggest North American AT conference.
Mm-hmm.
And they have companies from all over the world who come there to display their wares, as well as a lot of the big players like the Microsofts of the world who come in to showcase the accessibility efforts that they've got underway. So it's a big party for AT nerds.
Yeah. So this took place. Was it last week?
I think it was a week and a half, 2 weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago. Okay, so we're a little behind, but we thought we would take some of the sort of the top stories from the conference and talk a little bit about them, talk a little bit about some of the new products that were unveiled at CSUN. And then I thought we'd go for lunch.
Good idea. I like the lunch idea.
Excellent.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's get started.
Alrighty. So what do you want to talk about first? Should we talk about this plethora of note takers that has suddenly hit the market?
I think we should, because this is weird.
It is weird. You know, I think on this podcast not too long ago, I think I said that, you know, I really thought note takers were on their last gasp and nobody was going to be buying note takers anymore. They would just, you know, pair a braille display to a device. And wow, was I ever wrong in a way that I was also wrong about the Trump election. I mean, my credibility is just taking a beating here.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean...
No, Trump was elected.
Oh, damn it.
That's right.
Thought that was all a fever dream from my sickness last week.
No, I'm afraid not.
No, but I mean, you know, it was obviously, you know, there are manufacturers out there that are manufacturing these things, but I don't know. Is there a consumer need for them? Is there a consumer demand? Are these guys just being optimistic?
Well, I think the key word there is consumer. Me as a consumer, I don't have $5,000 for a dedicated note taker, so I still think they're leaning more towards the state agencies, the education fields. They're not for the end consumer.
And I wonder, you know, I don't know the state agencies in the U.S., but, you know, certainly here in Canada, the only place that we're seeing note takers being sold is in education. Mm-hmm. Outside of education, there's virtually nobody buying dedicated note takers. They're all getting displays and then they're just pairing them to something.
Yeah.
And when you look at the price of these things and the specs of these things, particularly if you look at the Windows note takers, why on earth would you spend that kind of money on a dedicated device, which is going to be obsolete in, you know, 5 years, if not sooner, when you could, for the same money, go out and buy the hottest laptop or sub notebook on the market and pair it to a braille display. I just don't get it.
Yeah, and even if you were to buy a really decent laptop and a braille display, you're still coming under the price of a dedicated note taker.
Yeah, even if you factor in the cost of putting on a top end screen reader like JAWS.
Yeah.
So I mean, from these notes, I mean, there's no less than 3 new note takers that were unveiled. You've got one from HandyTech, one from Freedom Scientific.
Yep.
And
one from HIMS.
And one from HIMS.
And the Neo Braille. So there's like 4 there.
Yeah. The HandyTech one really is more of a Bluetooth braille display, though, isn't it? It's got some note taking capability, but it's more a pairable type device, mm-hmm. which makes sense to me. But yeah, the Neo Braille, the L Braille. Which one am I missing?
The
blind
Polaris from HIMS.
Oh, right, the Polaris, yeah. So,
now, do you guys think that this is just a reaction from them looking, say, over to say Humanware and what they've been doing with the Braille Note Touch, and that this is just a reaction on their part where they're like, well, we need a competing device?
Well, I think there's 2 things at play, and I think that's one of them. Humanware, when they came out with the Braille Note Touch, I think surprised the market, first off, that they were coming out with a dedicated Android device with, the Braille integrated. And I think the reaction in particular from education was very positive to it. Because in education, they want a device which is going to integrate with school systems, and there's an incredible move to Google platforms in education right now. They also want a self-contained device, and they want something that will have support for things like math, mm-hmm. and that's something that Humanware has been traditionally very good at over the years, and they've shown a commitment to expanding that on the Braille Note Touch. So I think when they kind of took that market by storm, everybody sort of woke up, and said, hey, we need to be a player in this area too. But I think it's only going to work if they show that same level of commitment to, Google accessibility, as well as the things that are hot button issues in the Braille community, such as math support. So we'll see if those guys follow through on that. Now, the other part of it, I think, is driven by the European market, because in the European market, there's a lot more money out there for assistive technology in general, and they're willing to pay higher ticket prices, both for Braille displays as well as dedicated note takers. So we're seeing some European products that are coming into the North American market now that, maybe we might not have seen before. But, I believe the L Braille, that's a European product, isn't it, Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's being distributed exclusively by Freedom Scientific. So Freedom hasn't gone out and built one. They've just licensed one from another manufacturer.
And the advantage to that L Braille, and I think they have worked with Freedom Scientific, because their focus Braille displays will actually connect to it. So it's kind of a slick way of integrating your Braille display with a Windows 10 note taker.
Right. But again, we get back to that same argument. Do you really want to limit yourself on your Windows machine to a dedicated device, a very expensive dedicated device?
Right.
Well, and it seems to me, too, that it's actually been a few years since we've seen this many note takers in the marketplace. Generally, Humanware was kind of the only real game in town for a while, was it not?
Well, no, it was really split, I think, between Humanware and HIMS. And, I think to a large extent, I think we'll probably get back to that again. Because they I think have the two most viable products to attract the education market. But we'll see. I've been wrong on everything else so far. Why not be wrong about this? So there you go, folks. There's my prognostication. Do the exact opposite.
That's right. Buy a Chromebook.
That's right.
Okay. So out of all of these, Ryan, have you taken a look at a lot of the specs on these?
I've listened to the Blind Bargains podcast on the Polaris, and it sounds very comparative to the Braille Note Touch. It's running Android Lollipop, so a newer version of Android than the Braille Note Touch is.
Yeah,
Okay.
but only one version newer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spec-wise, I believe it was pretty much spec for spec the same. It does include wireless charging, kind of like a lot of smartphones do. So that's kind of cool. You could come in from school or work, drop it on your charging mat if you have one, and it'll charge. You don't need to have a AC adapter. Other than that, there really wasn't a whole lot different that I recall.
So there really, for most of these, there really isn't anything super innovative about anything.
No, it's like if you're used to the HIMS note takers, you've still got the word processor, the planner, the web browser. You've got all your regular note taker type items. And then, of course, Android, you've got access to the Play Store. Same with the Braille Note Touch.
Yeah, it seems like a very similar approach to the Braille Note Touch.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they've copied Humanware, because I understood they've had this under development for a long time. I'd heard rumors about them coming out with an Android device probably a year ago. So I think the two companies were probably operating in parallel, and Humanware just beat them to the punch on it.
Yep.
It seems so weird, though, that, it's really a market that seems to be like they're trying to drive. It seems like they're trying to drive demand for these things where there just may not be the demand for them.
Well, there's certainly not going to be as much demand as there has been historically. Years ago, the cost differential between a note taker versus a computer and a Braille display wasn't as wide, and the Braille displays and the computers were much more bulky. So it was more of an issue of portability and paying a small premium for that portability. But now the portability is there, both in terms of the Braille displays and the computers. And you've got to ask yourself, in the consumer market, I don't think a lot of people are going to be willing to pay that differential. In the education market, it's going to boil down to, okay, what are you going to do for me as the teacher to make my job easier to teach this kid?
Well, and I think coming back around to education, math being the huge advantage to using a dedicated device like a note taker. You're not going to get the same math support on an iPad or a Chromebook that you would on a Polaris or a Braille Note Touch.
Until you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, all it takes is somebody to develop it.
Yeah.
Really.
That's right. Yeah, and release it as an app, and then then that advantage, that educational advantage, suddenly shrinks.
Right.
So, God, I wish I could write apps.
Yeah, indeed. I wish I knew math.
Yeah.
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 Or Braille. Worth a damn.
That's right.
So out of these four, Ryan, I don't know, what do you feel, who's the leader here? If you had to pick one.
I didn't really look at all the specs on the Neo Braille, so I don't really know enough to talk about it intelligently.
That doesn't stop you before the podcast.
I've always liked the HIMS products. I haven't had my hands on a Polaris. The Braille No Touch is fine. It's nice that you got access to Android. I have an Android smartphone, so the learning curve is quite minimal. So for me, I would lean towards an Android device. But again, I probably wouldn't get one with a Braille display because my Braille isn't strong. So I would probably prefer one that just had, the keyboard input.
I got a good deal for you on a Braille keyboard.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what the year brings then, and see how these do.
Well, the other thing I find interesting too, and this really isn't kind of a note taker, but it has some note taking features built in, the Orbit reader. A year ago, there was a lot of talk about this new Orbit coming in for like $400 or $500. CNIB had exclusivity in Canada.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
People were putting deposits down on this. It was going to be, the next big thing. And I've heard nothing in the last 4 months about it. I don't even know if it's been released yet. I don't know, maybe Steve, but it just seemed to have disappeared off the radar.
Yeah, I haven't heard much about it either. I know, like you said, there was a lot of excitement about it, of a low-cost device that you could, tether and you could plug into your computer as a Braille display.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's anything that gets the cost of Braille down is awesome. But it has really seemed to have dropped off the radar. I haven't seen one in the hands of anybody other than the demos that CNIB was showing. So maybe it's something that we should not speculate about and perhaps ask CNIB about. Find out what's going on.
We can do that.
There you go. There's a show idea for you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Why don't we
get CNIB?
Yeah, let's get somebody on to talk about the Orbit.
Sure.
See, folks, this is how the podcast works. In behind the scenes, this is how we come up with ideas for shows.
That's right. Make a note. Write it down, Rob.
I don't have a pen.
Yeah,
You haven't provided me with a pen.
There's a pen on the table there.
We walk around the room, we stub our toe, we go,
That's right.
we should get a toe specialist on.
You lie. There's no pen here.
There should be one by the keyboard somewhere. Unless it rolled on the floor somewhere.
Here it is.
Okay.
It was under the keyboard.
So what's this deal with the Blind Tab tablet for the blind?
Again, I didn't really click on the link. It's one I wanted to look at and didn't. So I was hoping you guys had did some research.
I did look at it.
Hey, excellent.
And now I don't remember anything about it.
Well, we do have a computer with internet sitting right there.
Right, that's true. I'm looking it up.
I feel like didn't we look into this?
I wanted to get these guys on the show.
Blit Lab, yeah.
But they never responded back to me.
Because this was actually interesting. Wasn't this the screen that actually acted as a?
Oh, right. Okay. So BleTab is another Android device. But what they've done is they've taken the top of the screen and they've put a multi-line Braille display at the top of it, and then on the bottom of the screen you've got a visual display with all your Android-y stuff. The Braille is different on this. It's a different technology. It's actually some kind of bubble technology.
That's right.
And I don't know, some of the stuff that I read on it seemed to suggest that maybe it didn't react as quickly as the bimorph-based Braille displays that we have now. But it's multi-line, which is really cool. And apparently it's going to be a fair bit cheaper than the conventional Braille systems that are out there as well.
See, to me, this seems to be a little bit more exciting than just another Braille display, or another note taker, rather, because it sounds like these guys are actually innovating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, multi-line Braille display has been a big topic and a big wish list for people for a long time. So yeah, if they can actually deliver it in a commercially viable product that challenges the existing price structures, they're going to probably attract a lot of attention.
Well, speaking of price, is the price point there?
I'm just looking at their website right now, and I'm not seeing a price for it. But yeah,
because I'm not sure this has been released yet.
Yeah, there was speculation in one of the articles that I read about it. Here's the article I think had it. Oh yeah, they're saying it's going to cost $500.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. See, that's impressive.
Yeah, so they're saying at heart it's an Android tablet. It has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Android apps, supports all the cool accessibility features in Android, such as VoiceOver. So it looks like they're leveraging the built-in accessibility of Android, which is okay.
Right.
But they're giving you that multi-line Braille display at the top of it for a price point that, I mean, wow, that's hard to beat.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And even if it isn't as responsive, say, I mean, it's still, as long as it's functional, for $500, I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, that's literally the price of a tablet.
Yeah, you can't get a 12-cell Braille display for under $1,000. So.
Yeah, that's right. not with the bimorph technology we're using now. So yeah, right. Fantastic.
Yeah, you should actually reach out to those guys again, Ryan, because it would be really fascinating to talk to these guys.
Right now.
Okay.
Shut up, Rob.
Secretary. Yeah, no, I'd like to get them on the show. There's a few people in my list I'd like to get on the show.
Okay, let's see what else.
You want to talk about the Graffiti graphics tablet?
Graffiti. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that one's kind of interesting as well.
Okay, so the Graffiti graphics tablet by Orbit Research. It is a unit that has a 40 by 60 grid of variable height equidistant pins, and it is designed to display graphical information on the screen. So you could do things like maps, diagrams, what else could you do here? Well, I mean, pretty much anything graphically oriented. Topographical maps. They're variable height pins, which is interesting in itself, because of course all of the Braille technologies out there now are just single height. So you can have some representation of different depths, and it allows you to draw, zoom, or scroll on the display pins. Now I don't know how this will be received, and I think part of it I've not seen information on price point for this, but the resolution of the display is 40 by 60. That's not a lot of area to do a drawing on.
Not really.
Not in any detail. So it'll be interesting to see how this is received on the marketplace versus existing tactographic systems such as the PF or the American Thermoform products or Reprotronics products that use the ammonia capsule paper to create graphics. Now, you can't do variable height with that, granted, but you can do up to 11 by 17 graphics.
Right.
So, there's definitely some advantage to the approach taken by Orbit with the graffiti, in that you can have that variable height, but in terms of working space and being able to do a detailed graphic, I think the edge still goes to the existing one.
So would it be like the size of a tablet, or would it be the size of like a trackpad on your laptop?
It's like a big trackpad.
Okay.
What could I compare it to? Smaller than a mouse pad.
Mm-hmm.
It's about that big, Ryan. It's about that big.
So it's not very big.
About the size of a CD case.
Okay.
Just a little bit longer than it is tall.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you're talking pretty rudimentary diagrams.
I would think so. Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds a little gimmicky, to be honest.
Well, sometimes products like this come out and they go nowhere, and sometimes they surprise you.
True.
So we'll see. The market shall tell. The market knows all.
It's true. And I mean, if they can take this and use it as a base, and maybe the next generation is a little bit more useful because there's more real estate included.
So what we need is almost like a 9-inch tablet with haptic feedback.
That's right.
So you could draw your diagrams and have the feedback as you move your finger. You could tell the shapes of something.
Yeah, get on that, Ryan.
Well, hey, we know
we know a guy.
we know a guy.
We interviewed him last week.
Yeah, it was actually really interesting. You'd have enjoyed the conversation we had with him, because it's cool. Like, haptics are coming.
Yeah.
I think the next generation of touchscreen technology, it's just going to have this haptic technology baked right in, and it's going to have pretty widespread applications through the mainstream as well as the accessibility market as well.
That'll be cool.
I'm kind of surprised these guys weren't here at CSUN.
Which guys?
The Hap to You.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about what Amazon is up to with their Fire TV and their Fire Sticks.
Well, from what I could read, I didn't read much on the Amazon one, but all these sticks, the Amazon Fire Stick, Fire TV, the Roku streaming stick and media players, the Apple TVs, all now have a screen reader of sorts.
Yeah.
So there's some accessibility built in.
Yeah, and it's about time they've done this.
It is. The Apple TV, I think, was the first. I've got 2 of them in the house. But I've thought about getting a Fire Stick and watching my Amazon Prime Video, because I can't do that on the Apple TV.
Now, how is the Apple TV in terms of the screen reader that's built into it?
It works really well. It reads everything. I can, as I move through the arrows on the remote, it'll tell me, Netflix, YouTube, whatever the icon is I'm touching. I can hit enter on it. I can do searches. Searches are slow because you're kind of using the touchpad, I guess, on the Apple TV 4 to scroll letter by letter by letter, find the letter you want,
right,
hit enter. So what we've done upstairs is Linda has a Bluetooth keyboard that we've paired to the Apple TV, so it makes typing in a search a lot faster.
So,
go ahead.
Well, no. So really, it sounds like these guys are just playing catch up to Apple.
They are
once again.
Yeah, and I think from what I've understood so far, the Amazon screen reader is a little further ahead than the Roku. I'm not sure what the Roku can do yet, but it doesn't sound like much. Of course, voice search is where everything seems to be going as well. With the Apple TV 4th generation, I can just talk into my remote and say, search for Jack Reacher, and it'll find anything with Jack Reacher.
Well, that's slick.
Mm-hmm. And their TV app for Apple TV is getting to the point now where you'll be able to, it'll search across services. So it'll see if it's on Netflix or YouTube or what other services you have installed. So I don't think that's there yet, but here in Canada, we're always behind the U.S.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to some things.
What comes for living in paradise, right?
That's right. So I do want to get an Amazon Fire Stick. You know, they're only like $60, I think, or $100. Play with the screen reader on that as well.
Right. You know, I mean, according to this article, it's just it's really just literally just the screen reader, which they're calling Voice View.
Mm-hmm.
When it's enabled, it reads aloud on-screen text and provides an alternate navigation method to help visually impaired customers navigate the Fire TV interface. To enable Voice View, you press and hold the back and menu button on your remote for a few seconds, and the feature will start a verbal welcome tutorial for the first time it is activated. So, I mean, it sounds like it's pretty standard. It's, you know, it's literally just a screen reader for
the Fire TVs and Fire Sticks.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to get one and do a review.
Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing a review of the Fire Stick in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, the nice thing is, you know, I would have access, because I'm an Amazon Prime subscriber, I'd have access to the Amazon Instant Video, which you don't have an app for that on the Apple TV because Apple doesn't want you to. So I'd have the best of both worlds.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then what else do we got here? We're getting close to the bottom of the barrel, I think.
I believe we are. Oh, Microsoft. You mentioned Microsoft had 16 sessions
I
at
think,
CSUN.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
I'm telling you, they're stepping up their accessibility game.
They really are.
Well, you know what? This is fantastic because, you know, Amazon's stepping up their game, Microsoft's stepping up their game, Google's stepping up their game, Apple is continuing to do their stuff. I mean, it's about bloody time, right?
It is.
You know, these guys for years and years have neglected accessibility in their products, and it's really, really heartwarming to see that they're you know, making serious concerted efforts to put support in there. So bravo.
Yep. Well, the Creators Update, Windows 10 due out in like a month's time. Narrators can have support for Braille. You know, that's come a long way. So I'm looking forward to kind of playing with that and seeing how far narrators come.
Beautiful.
That's right, and we've got in our upcoming show, we've got somebody from Microsoft Accessibility to talk to. So start writing your questions now.
That's right. Yeah, if you do want questions answered from Microsoft, write them in. We'll happily ask them as long as they're, you know, polite. Be nice.
But it is interesting though to consider that it wasn't more than a year ago we were sitting here complaining about Microsoft and the mandatory upgrades to Windows 10.
Well, some of them weren't even, you know, mandatory isn't even the right word. People would wake up one morning, they'd be running Windows 10. You know, it was a forced update on some computers.
Right.
And people were screwed.
They were.
And granted, you know, much as we're applauding Microsoft now for their commitment to accessibility, that really was a dick move.
Yeah, and they've admitted that.
Yeah, hopefully lessons were learned.
Well, we'll see in a month when the next update comes out.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
But 16 sessions, though, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't write down the list of them. You can click on the link to see more. But they also have an accessibility blog if you want to follow along as to what work they're doing.
And they have, they have their accessibility superstar, Jenny Lee Fleury, right?
Yep.
Who we've tried to get on the show multiple times, but
no go. Not yet.
No go. We're not big enough.
Any relation there, Ryan?
No. Different spelling altogether.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
But, you know, Microsoft is doing it. Google had a few sessions there talking about Chromebooks and their screen reader Chromevox and, you know, some of the other accessibility that they've baked into their products. Amazon is doing their part. So it's really nice to see the mainstream actually taking notice.
Yeah, it really is about time. And, you know, who's to say really what what was responsible. I think at the end of the day, I think it was users. I think they woke up and realized that was a whole market of people who were being very outspoken about accessibility, and they're finally taking notice.
I think we have to give Apple some credit though too, because Apple's had VoiceOver built into their computers for years.
Right.
And really, if blind people wanted a computer with assistive technology built in, they went to the Mac.
Right.
And now that VoiceOver on Macs has matured, and you can get Office on Macs, and that's all accessible and working, Microsoft, took notice and started really enhancing Narrator and trying to get it to the point that VoiceOver's at, because they were probably losing market share.
Right.
Not a lot of market share because Windows is everywhere, but for accessibility, Apple had them beat hands down.
All right. Well, so any closing thoughts about this year's CSUN offerings?
Well, no.
Fair enough.
Nope, I got nothing.
Compared to other
wish I'd been there.
We should have been. I've never been.
Well, next year we'll go. We'll broadcast live from the floor of CSUN.
We could.
Yeah,
you work on what tech we'll need for that.
It's called smartphone.
Exactly. It's just guerrilla style podcasting.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Compared to other years, does this strike you as as a big news year, or a bunch of Braille note takers and
Well, it's definitely it's definitely big on the Braille note taker front, no question. That seems to be one of the areas that got a lot of focus.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Focus, ha ha ha.
Uh-huh.
I find it interesting too because Blind Bargains, so they have another podcast, blindbargains.com. I'll give them a plug. They go to CSUN every year and record a bunch of interviews with vendors, and they cover a lot of different topics, such as the Microsofts, the Googles, Ambitech Cane tips, all sorts of stuff. But I didn't see anything low vision related.
And that's kind of surprising to me because it seems to me the market is becoming a little full of wearable tech in terms of low vision, like the eSight and the New Eyes is another good example of that. There seems to be more and more of those creeping into the market. Do you have any insight into that?
Well, those wearable systems have limited applicability to the low vision market because to date all of them have relied very prominently on central vision, which most people who have lost vision have lost at least part of their central vision. So they tend to be good for a very narrow segment of the low vision population. I think you're seeing less excitement on the low vision side, largely because there just haven't been a lot of new product releases in the low vision side, or the product releases that have come out have really been variations on the theme as much as anything. Mm-hmm. So, if you look at, for example, one of the leaders, Enhanced Vision Systems, they've got, for new product releases right now, they've got...
That's true. The Geordie and the Mojo.
Well, they haven't released the Geordie yet.
Oh, okay.
They've released the Mojo, which is Mojo stands for Monocular Geordie. Basically, what the Geordie dates back to many years ago, where they had a head-worn system. They were really the developers of the head-worn market, and Geordie was a pretty popular product back in the day, and a pretty innovative product for back in the day too. There was nothing else like it. So everything else that's come out since then has really been following in their footsteps. But Enhanced Vision themselves, when the display technology that they were using stopped being manufactured, they let the Geordie die on the vine, and they kept looking at new display technologies, and they were watching, the display technologies getting better and better. And they never committed to one display technology until just recently. So the display technology that's in the Mojo, I believe, is the same technology that's going to be in the in the full-blown Geordie when they release that, and that's scheduled for later this year, I believe. But Mojo is a monocular, a video-based monocular, which can do, I don't remember what magnification. It's fairly substantial. I think it's up about 24 times, if I recall. I'd have to go back and look at the literature again, which is far more than you get in a typical optical monocular. You're probably looking at 6-8 times max,
right,
for most optical monoculars, and very narrow fields when you start getting up into those magnification levels. So it's an interesting product. It's the first video-based monocular since Betacom came out with the I've forgotten the name of it, but Betacom had a product out that was a video-based monocular as well. So we'll see how the market takes that. But aside from that, EV's also released the Transformer HD, which is a upgrade on the original Transformer.
Right.
Obviously using an HD camera. But they did some cool stuff with it. They built in a Wi-Fi hub, similar to some of the other products that are out on the market. But with their Wi-Fi hub, you can connect both Android and iOS devices to it to use as the display for your CCTV.
Nice.
And that's really cool because tablets are often very effective for people with low vision, simply by nature of the fact that they can move that tablet really easily to a preferred viewing area. So if they've got a good visual field in the bottom right corner of their face, they can move it there and see better than they might be able to if there was a monitor just sitting up in front of them. And on the Transformer HD, they've also built in a optional OCR capability as well. It's got I believe a 13 megapixel secondary camera on it if you get it with the OCR option, and it'll do full page reading for you. So you can just drop a page under and boom, it'll read it. Now it's really fast if you do it through a laptop. It's quite a bit slower if you do it through a tablet because it's got to transfer the image to the tablet for processing across the Wi-Fi connection. So that slows down the OCR results, but you can still do it even on a tablet. So that's kind of neat. But aside from that, I don't know of a lot of new products that were released in terms of low vision at CSUN or around CSUN. It's been pretty quiet on the low vision front for the most part.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see the Geordie, the next generation Geordie, when they release it.
Yeah, for sure. And Humanware is about to start distributing a head-worn system as well.
Oh, really?
The name of which completely eludes me. But one of our customers actually brought it to my attention and was the one who told me that Humanware was going to be carrying it. So there's going to be some competition squeaking into the industry here. So there's going to be no less than 4 different head-worn systems that'll be out and about fighting for that market space.
I'm telling you, wearable tech, it's the new big thing. It is.
Yep.
Orange is the new black.
We'll see.
Wearable is the new tech. All right. Well, does anybody have anything else?
I got nothing. Except a burning desire to go to the pub.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think that's exactly what we're about to do.
All right. Where can people reach us, Rob?
People can reach us at www.atbanter.com.
Or they can email us at atbanterpodcast@gmail.com.
And we're also out there on the Facebooks and the Twitters and stuffs.
That's right. And hey, I'm going to create us this week an Instagram account. We're going to be on the Instagram.
We can take pictures of our food. Yay!
We should do that at lunch. We'll take a picture of our lunch so that later when I create the account, that'll be the first picture. That's going to do it for us. Have a good week. Thanks for listening, and we will see you all next week.
Music provided by bensound.com.